Good morning, everyone. Dave Barlow here with Sell for 1%. We got a full slate here this morning, all the gang from Sell for 1% plus one. And our plus one this morning is Greg Huffer of Huffer Restorations. And Greg, and you and I, we've known each other 25 years.
Probably close to it. Yep. Been in business 23. So, yep, close to 25.
And we're both proud alma maters of Otterbein, now university, used to be college.
You know what? I got my Otterbein hat that the equipment manager got me. I played baseball there. It's in the back. In the back of that says it has fish in the middle of a baseball. I played for
that's
fishball
cool.
there.
Yep. Coach fishball, and took lots of batting practice there on Westerville Road.
That's right. That's right.
Back in the day.
Grand slams. Back in the day.
Yeah, exactly. And so now one of his daughters, I think she's still the head coach up at Kent State. And then the other daughter is running, is it D Marinas or whatever over there off of Dublin?
Menino's Grand Slam. I think she's Menino's wife.
Yeah. So they're still in the baseball and softball game, and that's cool. So,
I think that Menino coaches the Chillicothe Paints.
Okay, the minor league or the
Yeah. And then my old baseball coach, Bruce Heine, was the Delaware Cows.
Delaware Cows.
Yeah, the wooden baseball league that they run there in the summer for pro prospects in college. So
right.
Interesting stuff. So anyways, that's our tie. 23 years of chasing mold around basements and attics and any place that mold wants to rear its ugly head. Greg Huffer, there should be a superhero. Huffer man to save the day. What do you think?
I think that'll stick. Yep, I think that will stick.
All right, Greg. So a lot of times, we're in basements. We see a little, black in the corners near the sump pump or, something like that. And mold is becoming more of a hot topic, and it will as we move into the spring and more water starts to fall and things like that. What are some of the things that you see pretty common that are fairly easy fixes? And then we'll talk about some of the stuff that you and I were having a conversation yesterday, and I was wrong in my assessment. But some of the stuff that buyers should definitely have a concern with. So, what do you think?
Well, like you said, in the corners by the sump pump, a lot of times you see that. It's more defined if the basement walls have been painted. And the reason that is the concrete will try to breathe when it gets water in it, like your concrete sidewalks and curbs, so you don't see a lot of mold growing on that. But when basements are painted and that moisture tries to push through the block, it gets trapped behind the paint, and then the dirt and then the paint itself is what the mold will grow on. I was at a job this morning. It was all over the vinyl windows from the winter time where they had the blinds closed and the curtains closed, and those older windows that would sweat. And then they were asking me, why is there mold on vinyl windows? Because mold doesn't grow on vinyl, but it grows on the dirt and dust that's on that.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, that makes perfectly good sense to me. I know that our old friend, Jimmy from J&J Waterproofing, he always talked about the block, and that block was porous, and that water was meant to come, through the block. And so what you're saying about sealing that block, that you're actually preventing the moisture from escaping. And if it doesn't have any place to go, it's going to try to push through the paint.
That's correct. And unfortunately, the steps that we do, if it's on the block, is exactly that. We have to put a top coat on it to seal it, which is like a painted surface, which then becomes a maintenance issue. But yeah, if it's not painted, you'll see the white chalky lines. That's calcification. You see the furry stuff that looks like cotton candy, deflorescence. And a lot of that can be scraped off and just wiped and treated with an antimicrobial or mold and mildew stain remover. But if it's in the, if it's really dark, there's all different levels of that, then it does have to be scraped and then treated and then spray sealed to encapsulate it in order to pass a clearance test.
And so I know you're not a doctor, but from a health concern, when someone sees that mold in the corner like that, what kind of health concerns, should we be aware of?
Well, you're right. And when someone asks me that, because of the day, that we live in now, you can never say, because everybody's different. I had a guy that worked for me that didn't know he was allergic to mold until he worked for me.
Oh boy.
And we wear respirators, we wear Tyvek, but even with that, when you take the respirator off, your Tyvek off, just the mold spores that were still on his clothing, he ended up, went to the doctor. He was sick a lot. It caused respiratory issues. Everybody's different. I can be around 100 cats. I'm not a cat person. I'm an animal person. I don't mind cats, but it doesn't bother me. But if I would go into a house that had a couple cats, and then when I went home, and my oldest son was living at home at the time, he would swell up because he's that allergic to cats. So sensitivity, the younger you are, the more susceptible, just like anything. The older you are, or if you have an immune deficiency, if you're going through chemotherapy or, have those type of issues, you're more immune to getting sick. You're more likely to get sick or have adverse reactions to it.
Right. So what other types of common mold do you typically see when you're called in?
The black mold that you're talking about in the basement, you get a lot of buyers that'll see that and they go, it's mold, it's black. They Google black mold, like we discussed yesterday. Comes up Stachybotrys and they freak out. Typically, black mold, there's a lot of molds that will turn black once they lose their water source, for one thing, becomes non-viable or non-living. But typically on block walls, if I would swab, that would be Cladosporium, which is also a common type of mold that's outside, like with decaying plants. And that's also what you see a lot of times in bathrooms, in the showers, around the grout, the dark, the black.
Right.
So, and that's why I try to talk to people and tell them, this is not something that can't be addressed. Even if it's Stachybotrys, it can be addressed. But, the internet can be helpful, but it can also be hurtful for potential buyers or sellers. But Cladosporium is very common. Aspergillus, penicillium, see a lot of times, see that more often on floor joists and subfloors, where if a basement had gotten wet and something has to work as a dehumidifier. Crawl spaces down in, my guys are working on one today down off of Broad Street. No vapor barrier that was put down, so you have just the soil, and then 3 feet above that, you have floor joists and subfloors. Something's got to equal out that environment, because you have a micro environment going there, and so the floor joists and subfloors will absorb that humidity, and being wood, being a natural product, and then that's what will grow mold. So that's when you typically will see the grayish green. It's hard to look at in basements. A lot of times we'll go and look, and a homeowner flips all the lights on, and I ask them, I go, do you mind if I turn the lights off? When you turn it, because when the lights are in your face, it's hard to see it. But if the light's off and you take a flashlight, not shining straight at it, but like at an angle down the floor joist, then it really pops if it's there.
Okay.
So that's typically the three most common, I'd say, that we see in basements and attics and crawl spaces.
And so treatment wise, I mean, like the mold and by the sump pump or this aspergillus that's on the floor joist, is it difficult to treat and get rid of?
No, we first thing we do is HEPA vac, which HEPA is just high efficiency particulate air filter that's on the vac. You HEPA vac off all the loose particles that you can. We treat that with an antimicrobial. There's several different treatments you can use. You can use a peroxide solution, like a Suprox. I guess you'd say over the counter, like at Home Depot, they have concrobium. That's not going to remove it, but what that does is help kill. Once you wipe it, you want to HEPA vac it, you want to wipe it, you want to re-HEPA vac it, treat it with an antimicrobial, and then we spray seal it that has a mold inhibitor added to it for encapsulation. Those are your basic 5 steps.
Okay. And so for the Stachybotrys, I don't know if I said that right. Stachybotrys. What's the treatment for that? Because that's a little more invasive.
It's the same treatment. And another thing that I left out, you want to have the areas contained so you don't cross-contaminate.
Right.
So when we do the work, we'll wrap the furnace. You set up plastic containment, for the room that it's in, so when you take it down, you don't cross-contaminate it. Typically in basements, unless it's a finished basement, we don't see stachybotrys because that grows primarily on cellulose material drywall. Right. So I sent you a picture yesterday, and it's usually, it smells. It has a pretty strong smell typically, and it usually grows on drywall that's been wet for an extended period of time. So if we do a job where someone's commode upstairs overflows and they got a watermark on the ceiling, and they go, we're concerned about mold, typically it'll fall between the two pieces of drywall, and then where the tape seam is, you'll see, watermark, like you spilled coffee on the newspaper. That's not concerning. But in basements that I go to that are foreclosed homes, and they check them every 2 weeks,
right?
Sump pump may fail. They may go through and check and look, just kind of look down the basement, everything looks good. I've gone swimming in the basement before because if it's water in the basement, unless you throw a pebble or a coin, the water's so flat, so laid down, you don't see it. But when it sits, and then of course there's no air conditioning running in these homes, and drywall's wet over an extended period of time, then stachybotrys will start to grow on the drywall. So it needs to be cut out. There's no clean, you don't clean that. You cut that drywall out and dispose of it.
Yeah, and that's what I was thinking, that that's not a HEPA vacuum and a wipe and a HEPA and a wipe. This is cut the drywall out, replace it.
That's correct. So if it's in a basement and it's in a corner, maybe 2 feet on each side and maybe a foot up off the ground, we would go 3 to 4 feet up, and then we would go to where it stops, and then we usually go a stud or two on either side of it, turn the back of the drywall, and make sure that's where it's stopped. You don't just cut it from end to end top, because you want to make sure you've got it all.
All right. So, what made you want to get into this business?
Actually, it was the insurance companies. I used to do the tougher restoration. We used to do fire and flood restoration.
Oh, okay.
And then the insurance said, it was around 2000, 2001, you guys got to get certified for mold remediation because it's becoming a thing. It needs to, you need to get certified so we can get you on that. So we did. And back in the day, if you remember, back in the day, a mold remediation project would be super, super expensive. They had to have a third party test it beforehand, a third party come and test it after. And if they were a month out to get to the testing, our equipment, air scrubbers, negative air machines ran daily, and a job that may be 3,000, 5,000 now, back then it could have been 20,000. And that's why the insurance companies hurried up to write mold coverage out of their policy, where they put a limit on it of like $5,000, because insurance companies were getting killed for that. But yeah, it was the insurance companies. And then I had a realtor call me and say, do you know you're on Fannie Mae's 10 companies in Ohio that are on the approved list to do Fannie Mae foreclosures, which I didn't even know. But I was getting calls from, or emails from different Fannie Mae reps, not in Ohio. It's, Texas, Virginia Beach, Chicago. And they were, so it would go to like an REO specialist, and then I would get an email from them, but it was down the line, it was Fannie Mae, but there was no emails exchanged. They kind of kept their hands off, but you know what I mean? I was like the fifth person removed from that. But yeah.
Well, that's cool. Well, a lot of information. We just kind of touched on a few things here. As a buyer of a home, if you have concerns, or a seller, I always recommend, bring in the pro, someone like Greg, who's been doing this for a long time. And the one thing I will tell you, because I've been doing this 25 years here in March now, mold, it was kind of like, well, back in the day it was lead paint, and then it became asbestos, and then it's radon, and mold has kind of stayed up there as major concerns for buyers, and it should be. But I think I've had you go out and I think you just did a job where the other mold company to do just kind of a small space was like at $3,000, and you go in and it's $800. And and that's what I appreciate is it's an honest assessment. It's not, well, I'm going to jack you on this one because I got to make a house payment next month. And
right.
And that's why we continue to send business your way, is because we know that when we send you in there, it's going to be an honest assessment. And if it is work that needs to be done, it's going to be done at a fair price. And I think, the endorsements don't get any better than that. And that's why you've been in business as long as you have.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've got to make a living, but yeah, I did a job where a lady called about a bathroom vent that was venting into her attic space. You've seen that a lot.
Yeah.
And it was about the size of a pizza box. She asked me if I could make it there. She called me at noon. I was in Delaware in a crawl space that was muddy. I said, I can be there about 4. I got to get home after I finish and clean up, And when I called her, she said she already had a company that came out. I'm like, okay. I'd be there in 4 hours, but then she calls me back. Can you still make it? And when I went there, to your point earlier, I kind of felt bad because I told her, I said, look, I've already been out here and I've got to have my guys come out and set up equipment, treat it, spray it. And then we got to test it. And the testing's $150 per test. And we don't test it before, we test it after for a clearance test. When we finish, we guarantee that it'll come back no mold detected on a swab sample in an attic, or air quality being better inside than outside if we do an air test. And so I told her, I said, I feel bad, but it's going to be $500. And she said the company before me wanted $5,000, to your point. And it's like, I mean, how? I mean, you might get away with that once, but if I did that to you guys, that'd be the last time you'd lose my number pretty quick. You can't do that to people.
Yep.
And but you still got to make a living, but you can't gouge people. You guys typically know if you send me for an attic, a basement, a crawl space, where my numbers are going to fall, what range it's typically going to be in.
Right. And that's important. And anybody that's on our vendor list is usually somebody that we've had do business for ourselves, or we've been like with you time after time after time, and it's always pretty steady. And that's what we're looking for our clients. And you've built a heck of a business. I know I touch base with you every once in a while, and you're like, well, I'm up in Chicago right now, but I'll be back tomorrow and I can take a look. And it's like, that's
right.
And so that's a good for you, man. I'm pleased to know you and to recommend you.
Back at you, Dave and Jason and Jamie. Oh, you guys, I really appreciate, because without you guys, I wouldn't be in business. So I try to make everybody happy. It's impossible, but if someone does have a legitimate concern when we're finished, I always go back and return their calls and follow up and try to make things right. But I would say a pretty good success rate. I can't think off the top of my head the last person that complained, and I'm not saying that, but we do the work and I follow up with follow-up pictures, the lab report, talk to them, are you guys happy with everything? And is there anything else that we can do? Because, you can't just disappear. That's the worst thing. You got to stay on time, be on time, and stay on top of things. It's that simple.
And so your contact information, Greg, is here on the screen. If people have a question or they need some help, or, I know you just answer the phone and answer questions a lot of times.
Absolutely.
Give Greg a call. He'd be happy to help you out and take good care of you. So I appreciate you taking some time with us here this morning, and look forward to working with you in the future, as always.
Sounds great. Thanks, Dave.
All right, Greg. Thank you.
All right. Thank you.